In a world where information seems to travel at the speed of light and traffic at a snail's pace, where the agenda of those at the helm doesn't always reflect the pressures on the streets, where the rubber hits the road, where there's queue of issues needing to be interrogated in the name of speaking truth to power.
Welcome to a place at the table,
where we set the agenda,
table the issues that matter to you,
and invite you to take a seat at the table.
Welcome to a place at the table, where we hold not just our leaders accountable, but ourselves as well. I will be speaking on an enabling environment, our collective responsibility.
Certainly, we are all responsible when it comes to creating an enabling environment. But you could say that some are more responsible than others. I am speaking pointedly of the FCT's Inhumane Task Force.
Welcome back, Dorothy. I'm with Zumah when it comes to the issue of our collective responsibility. What should I say? Irresponsibility. I'll be speaking on our compromised hope.
Yes, Bright. In times like this, it helps to look outwards. And I'll be profiling the rise of Kemi and the fall of Kamala. Welcome back, Yinka. Are you ready for a modern history lesson?
Can't wait, Funke. I love history. I'll be interrogating why, despite declaring huge dividends, history keeps repeating itself when it comes to our woefully inadequate banking services.
Yinka, it's a case of those who fail to learn from history are bound to repeat its failures. I sincerely hope not. We often lament the challenges of living and thriving in Nigeria, how the system feels rigged, the government inadequate, and the corruption widespread. But what if it's not just them? What if it's also us? It's time we look inward and reflect on how our actions contribute to the dysfunction we despise so much. When we manipulate the justice system through connections, we're not just helping a friend or pulling strings. We are enabling crime, endangering lives, and weakening trust in the judiciary. When we spread false or inflammatory information, whether out of ignorance or for fun, we are fueling division, distorting public opinion, and risking harmful influencing policies or reactions. When we give or demand bribes, we aren't just speeding up processes, we are eroding fairness, fostering corruption, and tarnishing our country's reputation. When we engage in illegal electricity connections, we are not being smart, we are disrupting the system's ability to plan effectively, which leaves us in the dark, literally and figuratively. When we stand by as public infrastructure is vandalized or participate in it, we are complicit in reducing the quality of life for everyone. We are as responsible for the state of the nation as those we criticize. Every small act of negligence, self-interest, or indifference adds to the collective dysfunction. Building an enabling environment isn't just a government responsibility, it's a shared responsibility. When we choose integrity over shortcuts, we set a standard for fairness. When we fact-check before sharing information, we protect the truth and strengthen public trust. When we safeguard public infrastructure, we ensure resources are used to move us forward, not to repair our mistakes. When we reject bribes, we show that integrity is still possible in Nigeria. The state of Nigeria today is a mirror of our collective actions and values. It's time to shift from blaming others to holding ourselves accountable. Let's commit to choices that don't just benefit us in the short term, but uplift the entire nation in the long term. Real change doesn't happen in isolation. It starts with you, it starts with me, it starts with us. The future we desire depends on the action we take today. What action are you taking today?
Zumah.
High five.
I mean, when we're coming in today, this was the conversation we were having, right?
Oh, yes.
Why I didn't even know this was your advocacy today. I think the first thing for me, there's a quote that I came up with, and it's pretty simple. The way you leave your house will determine if, when I come to your house, if I'll take off my shoes. If I enter, I'll just walk in with my shoes. right? You don't need to tell
That's
me.
right.
If your house is messy, I'm not going to stay in my leg. I'm walking with my shoes. But I say everything is nice and clean, I'll take off my shoes. I have to say, take off your shoes, right? The first thing is this, right? There are people who want to keep to the law and follow the procedures. I use an example, traffic, right? There's traffic. If everybody goes their straight path, everybody's going to move. But when some people decide to leave the line and try to use another path, they go and they create more. So should I just sit down and be waiting while somebody's going up there? I'd rather just follow you and let's not go. At least I'm closer to where I used to be. Do you get what I mean? So at the end of the day, the key thing is who is responsible for creating a structure that avoids all of these things? It's the government. If the government creates a structure where these things are avoidable, it's not going to happen in the first place. An example also is Rwanda. I don't know if you guys have been to Rwanda. You go to Rwanda, you understand that if you try to bribe somebody, you are in a big problem. If you try to take bribe, you're in a big problem. The reason why you're in a problem is because there's a structure in place that puts you in that problem in the first place. But because these things are accommodating our society, you know that if I don't do this, in some cases you don't want to give bribe. But you know that I need to move forward, and these people will not let me move forward until I do this. So it's no longer even a bribe. It's now something that you have to do.
PR.
Do you get what I mean? And they call it different names now.
But I also think we can hold ourselves to a higher standard.
Exactly.
And we can also whistleblow. At times there will be man-made bottlenecks, but if we whistleblow, it comes out into the open, and then maybe shame will force the party that is meant to be responsible for an action to take the required action.
So whistleblow to who? To the public?
To the public, to the regulatory authorities.
They're also taking bribes?
No. A lot of people assume that the system does not work, right? But have you even tried the system and see that it doesn't work for you? Have you tried to whistleblow anything? If anyone has asked you for bribe in recent times, have you tried to escalate it in any way? In most public offices, you see boxes saying, if anyone asks you for something, drop your message, or you can reach out to us on something. A lot of people don't take advantage of it. I understand that there is a low trust in the system, but at least try.
Always talked about followership in relation to leadership. And I'm going to come out of the closet today to declare that in Nigeria today, we have as much problem with followership as we have with leadership. Having said that, I'll return to the points in your advocacy. I love when you said we are responsible for the state of the nation as those we criticize. And then you also said the future we desire depends on the action we take today. So the question is, what action are we taking as citizens every time we're pointing fingers at the leaders? What about us? Those of us who do not want to give bribe are in the minorities. Nigeria is very much our responsibility as citizens, as the responsibility of those leading us right now. So if they say stop vote buying, you find a woman who bought votes in Ondo State and came to say, oh, they gave us money, but I voted. After all that we have said, don't sell your votes, So where do we draw the line? How are we going to make this nation a better place for all of us when we think we don't have a responsibility to make it work?
You spoke to the government. We are the government. We play a critical accountability role in the government. And I am aware that for people who have come in with agendas to refine or reform corrupt systems, there's a lot of backlash that they face, pushback and everything. Yes. So what can we do? I think we can keep amplifying it. If I'm the person that was on the road, as you have joined the other people, you are not entering my front.
Yep.
If everybody has my mentality, well, all of you that came from there, road safety should send all of you right back, or keep all of you until everybody has gone. By the time you stay there for 1 hour, everybody will learn. I think that we have systems that enable people to continue doing wrong instead of enabling people that continue doing right, and we have the social media at our disposal these days. So what I think there's something we also do, and I've done it several times. I come out and I film you and say, look at this, could be somebody's father. Is this your father? This is what the person is doing today. If those kind of videos come out more and more on social media.
Shame.
Yes.
Name and shame.
Then people, I say, oh, it's not just somebody's father. This is a government plate. This is this. Which office is this? This is what your vehicle is doing out publicly. I think we should do a lot more of that.
But guys, for real though, there was a video of somebody that had dollars collected dollars as a bribe. And the person still holds one of the most powerful positions in this country as we speak. Like, let's be realistic. There are lots of videos that are out there about different things and nothing happens. After 2 weeks, they forget. There's somebody that slapped somebody.
Did nothing really happen?
And the person, nothing really happened.
I don't think that nothing really happened.
The person is literally one of the toppest leader in the political party that's ruling right now. What are we talking about? Okay, our guy that said I will make you disappear.
What has happened to him?
Is he not still in the house?
But the guy came back to apologize.
Because they put him on like this.
Hold on, guy. Hold on.
You should be out of the house.
Did the guy sue? Did the guy make any action to make things happen?
What are you guys talking about? Nigeria, bro.
Can you change Nigeria without changing the Nigerian?
That's it.
And that for me is the fundamental question that has to be asked. I mean, we can formulate a lot of things and say, okay, they should do this. The fundamental thing is that the Nigerians must decide what kind of society do you want. I think the kind of society we have is what Nigerians want.
Precisely.
And so it's, so sometimes...
You are the minority, by the way.
Sometimes I tell myself that, what's the point? Really, what's the point? Recently, Fisayo Shurombo showed a video.
Don't expose her.
Okay, of whistleblowers who blew whistle on this smugglers and everything. And the customs, apparently, or somebody in there, shared the information with the smugglers. And then the smugglers went after the whistleblowers. So when you're even talking about justice itself, the justice itself is not guaranteed for those who want to take a step. So I have decided that, look, the country we have is a country we want. When we decide as a collective whole, as Nigerians, and when I say a collective whole, I mean everything that makes us up, our traditional institutions, our religious institutions, our government, our family units. If we come together and decide that we want a country where there's rule of law, where people respect the order and everything, we will get that country.
At the risk of sounding like a school teacher, let me remind us of the saying that when we point one finger at others, 4 fingers are pointing back at us.
Indeed, Zumah. Nonetheless, I know you'd agree that pointing out the wrong in the society is also our collective responsibility. Before the current Tinubu administration, PMS fuel sold at 200 naira per litre. Over 80% of Nigerians live below $1. The new government ushered us to its reality by removing fuel subsidy, and the domino effect was set in motion. The prices of everything went up, hardship increased, and even more people went below the poverty line. While Nigerians are trying to cope with these grim realities, poverty is being criminalized. In Abuja, on the 31st of October 2024, just past 1 p.m., on the Olusegun Obasanjo Way in Utako, armed officers, police officers in blue camouflage uniforms, alongside Abuja Environmental Protection Board, AEPB officials, were chasing a young man through moving vehicles, then chased him into our side of the traffic, and a vehicle which actually tried to avoid him hit him. He was tipped in the air and landed on the vehicle I was in. The armed and unarmed task force members in pursuit immediately turned around and left the person for dead. Now, road safety personnel made no effort to save the life. They fled as well. I was left with a motionless human being, damaged vehicle, and traumatized colleagues. I was totally helpless. Yes, the commissioner of police, FCT, responded to my distress call, but I had to pay all unplanned medical bills running into hundreds of thousands of naira. Nigerian lives should not have value only during elections when high numbers of votes are needed. The inhumane task force systems should have been abolished. In response to increased poverty, all the numerous empowerment schemes that the government has for the poor should be rolled out and actually given to the poor. It is said that the task force was out to take beggars off the streets of Abuja. But Abu Bakr, who was hit, was a recycler who had just purchased empty bottles and cartons from nearby plazas for onward sale. The Arab Spring is a constant reminder of what disregarding human rights in a democracy can lead to. NSA's protest is another. How possible is it that those that unleashed the task force on FCT are unaware of the damages they leave behind?
So typically what you have is that, I don't know this particular task force, whatever they were, but you'll find out that when you dig down, the idea was to solve a problem. But typically, with what you find in the Nigerian society, that process is abused, and then you now have that task force itself now becomes part of the instrument of state
Oppression.
to go after the weak. And I said to you off the set that Nigeria is primed to punish the weak and the poor. And so to get things done, or to be able to get ahead in Nigeria, you have to be strong, you have to be powerful, you have to be influential. You have to be able to have the ability to be able to do certain things, right. And it feeds into our personality. Go to any institution here in this country, just drive into any institution, a bank hall, or a bank branch, or any public office. Drive in with your bike, or go there with your bike, and you'll see the way you're treated at the gate. Come to that same place with an SUV, and then you see a different change. And so the mentality, even among the people who are smaller, is the fact that if you are not strong and if you cannot command some kind of respect, you will not be accorded that respect. The members of the task force who are doing this, when you look at them as well, they're very small people. Mm-hmm. They are people that, in reality, they can't even stand. They don't even have the ability to stand before you. But because they are given a uniform
and guns
or whatever, they assume a sense of power over you. And so the point must go back to the whole emphasis. The emphasis must go back to the whole idea of what set them up in the first place.
So.
And we must have the courage to be able to disband those task force, when their purpose is no longer being fulfilled.
Before now, the FCT, they've always had the Ministers' Task Force. And what's the history of task forces? The military system, when the Nigerian military governments were there were task force systems set in place. Yeah. Now, in FCT, we have always had the Ministers' Task Force. They've always criminalized disability, criminalized womanhood, criminalized poverty. So they go after street beggars, the people they call street beggars. If you're a person with disability, you have to prove that you are not a beggar.
What?
And then they send you. I know people who have been made to prove, who were told to prove that they were not beggars because they were persons with disabilities. I ended up in ECOWAS courts with Nigeria over the violations of this same task force, when Nigeria was for the first time pronounced guilty of gender-based violence by ECOWAS court in the Dorothy Njemanze and 3 others versus Federal Republic of Nigeria case. And then, of all people, a body lands on my vehicle. It's the same task force. They say they want to make Abuja elitist. So what happens to the poor people in Abuja?
Yinka, you mentioned going to the ministry on a bike. In these few people's Lagos, if you go to a restaurant with an Uber, certain restaurants, the way they will look at you. And then if you go back with a certain kind of car, the amount of respect you will get. So I think it's even, like I said earlier, we are a collection, our systems is a collection of our values. That's just the way you are. Those task force people that fled when the body landed on a vehicle, they fled for their lives because they were probably anticipating mob action against them. And I disagree with the disbandment of the task force because, again, there's a reason they were created, but there has to be clear guidelines on their processes and systems and the way they enforce. And there should be consequences when they step outside those roles. It's quite sad and unfortunate that we're trying to criminalize poverty instead of trying to alleviate or make the situation easier on people. Better. In the past 1 year, things has gotten significantly harder for every Nigerian, irrespective of your social status. And it doesn't look like there is an end in sight. And you're trying to build an elitist city. To who? For who? It just does not make sense. Like, again, I hope Abubakar is fine.
Zumah, let me
Abubakar is alive. Is he fine? No.
I feel like we're so good at addressing symptoms instead of the cause.
Thank you.
That's the problem. That's the simple problem. We're so good at identifying the symptoms. 2 days ago, they put something on a group chat that was, and it was a policeman, I don't know which department, and was talking about how they caught a Yahoo boy, they bribed them $100,000, they brought all the money, we said no to the money, and all of that. Yeah, that's great, but that's the BS. I'm sorry. Because these boys will not even exist in the first place if you have a proper system that supports their growth. That's the cause, right? You are just saying, why do we have politicians that have stole so much money still walking around, still getting more positions?
Because they're bribing, and so the boys attempted to do the same bribing.
At the end of the day, poor people will not exist in Abuja if there are structures in place to get them jobs.
To cater to
them. Even in the marketplace, now even the open marketplace, not even elitist, like you need to have somebody for you to have a shop.
Yes,
what
absolutely.
are we talking about? Why do we focus so much on using our taxpayers' money? Because I do pay tax.
Mm-hmm. To
punish people instead of punish the wrong people instead of using it to elevate
to punish everybody.
I think what you said is words on marble. I'm going to read it out. You said Nigerian lives should not have value only during election. That is word on marble. Right. That we should continue to repeat and repeat. I don't know what New Central is going to do about that, but they should repeat it over and over again. Yes. So then to other things, you talked about Abuja, they wanting to make Abuja elitist. And the question I'm asking is, why do we not have housing scheme for the low income in Abuja? Why is it that people have to live in Mararaba in Nasarawa state and all the adjoining states but Abuja? Why is it that Abuja has to be only for the rich and wealthy? It's a question that the administrator of Abuja should be looking at and be considering. That's another one. Followership again. Here we are. Yeah. It is followership. So you're there and arguing that everything is about leadership. You can see now that it's about the people, who we are as a people. Cold, extremely cold, that you hit somebody, you made somebody to be in a fatal situation and you left the person for dead. What happened to weekly monitoring and evaluation? What happened to inter-agency relations? Olowolayemo means that it's only the rich that people know. And it is a terrible outlook to life that we have in Nigeria. You cannot see somebody who lives with disability on a work day and expect that person to look a certain way and then profile that person as a beggar. It's annoying me as I speak, and I'm just going to stop.
Oh, well. When I came out and I was in shock, the response was that guns were cocked at me.
What?
Really? Yes, guns were cocked. Yes, guns were cocked. Well, if we don't document and highlight inhumane patterns, we won't know when we fall into the abyss.
So I'm a little bit emotional right now if I go into this thing like this. Please, Abel, let's take a break. This is just ridiculous. The promise of renewed hope gave many Nigerians a reason to believe in a brighter future, one where justice prevails, integrity is celebrated, and opportunities are accessible to all. However, hope is fragile, and its foundation is easily shaken. When systemic issues remain unaddressed, hope is compromised. When the judiciary, meant to uphold justice, become entangled in corruption, leaving citizens disillusioned about fairness and accountability. Hope is compromised when citizens with integrity remain silent, paralyzed by fear of losing their livelihood or facing repercussions for standing up against injustice. Hope is compromised when public offices meant to serve the people are reduced to opportunities for personal enrichment, leaving the masses neglected without the support they deserve. Hope is compromised when the youths, despite their innovation and resilience, are stifled by the systemic failure that denies them the opportunity to thrive. Hope is compromised when basic human rights like access to quality education, healthcare, and security becomes privilege reserved for the elite. Hope is compromised when the electoral process is riddled with manipulation, denying people the power to choose leaders who genuinely address their needs. Hope is compromised when citizens begin to believe that the system cannot be fixed and that corruption and inequality are inevitable. To renew hope is not merely to promise, it is to act. It is to rebuild trust in our institutions, amplify the voices of the silenced, and create systems that reward integrity, not corruption. It is to empower the youth with opportunities that match their potential and to ensure that justice, fairness, and progress are not just ideals, but lived realities for all Nigerians. So, hope may be compromised, but it's not lost. It can still be restored if we confront these challenges with urgency and purpose. True renewed hope begins when words become action and the promises transforms into reality every Nigerian deserves.
This hope is not renewing at all. Amen. In the past 1 year, things has gotten significantly harder for every Nigerian. And we also need to understand that hope cannot be renewed in one day. It's a continual process. I think we got to a tipping point before the last election that came with the slogan of renewed hope. And it's quite sad that there has been a mismatch between the actions and the words. The words and the actions that is, currently happening. Nothing has changed significantly. And right now, the everyday Nigeria is more hopeless than we were 2 years back. It has never been this bad since I've been an adult. And then we keep saying that, okay, things will get better, but when will it get better?
A leader is a dealer in hope.
Hope. Yeah, that's right.
So sometimes reality is that the work of the leader is not necessarily the one to operate the system or to do the one to get everybody to micromanage. Sometimes the work of a leader is to cast a vision to create hope.
It's to sell a dream.
Sell that vision, sell that dream, sell that hope.
And Nigerian men are really good at doing that.
Yeah, and yeah.
I guess it goes bad with the political part.
What I found interesting, especially within the current political system that we have, is that we have very good politicians, but we don't have good leaders. We have those who can win elections, who know how to do all the political calculations, divide or rule or whatever, and just get enough votes to get into power. But they don't know how to govern because they cannot create a vision and a hope that people can run with. You just described a scenario where we have gone from renewed hope to compromised hope. That's basically what you've created. And so it comes down to the quality of leadership that we have. Yes, was it yesterday? Yeah, I think it was yesterday. On X, I created some kind of stir. I took up the topic of the tax reforms. And so we have these 4 bills that are currently in the National Assembly, 4 tax bills, monumental bills, because these bills repeal about 11 existing tax laws. I mean, some of these tax laws have been there for decades. It amends another 13 laws. I mean, it's monumental, right? And you would think that the executive, because it's an executive bill, it's not a personally sponsored bill by any side. It's an executive bill who put all the apparatus of government into it to create the vision. The idea that, look, what we are doing ultimately benefits you, ultimately aligns with this renewed hope agenda, and it somehow expands the economy and grows the economy. But what you have the guy who is in charge of the committee, the guy's been running around pillar to post. You could see the stress in his face that is obviously stressed because he's the only one actively going out there, really, really trying to, explain. There's a lot of misinformation out there and all that. And what are the
Media
the
aides.
executive spokesperson doing? They're arguing over who's going to be the spokesperson.
I don't know. For me, everything you said again is a call to action to all of us. A lot is happening and it's taking a toll on us, but I've chosen not to be a pessimist, you know. With what happened to me, I see myself going right down that place again where even the damages awarded by the ECOWAS court to us have not been paid. But I choose not to be a pessimist. I've offered myself to help, you know, refine or reform or find humane ways for whatever needs to be done. Renewed hope for me has been NSPPD, and yes,
There's nothing God cannot do.
because we come out every morning and we link up to the different platforms and we
Speak.
just pour our hearts out to God and we come together and say, okay, we're still alive, let's get today going. That's the real renewed hope that a lot of us are holding on to.
Right.
And so there's a place for the traditional leaders. There's a place for the religious leaders.
Yep.
Everybody has to plug into this. But while we're doing it, remember to document the issues of people and then build that accountability system so that we're accountable to ourselves and as well accountable to the system at large.
Hope is compromised when citizens begin to believe that the system cannot be fixed and that corruption and inequality are inevitable. I wonder who the president's minders are, and I wonder if they're telling him the truth. Because the reality is that this country needs national therapy. We all need therapy. What you just talked about is therapy. This is what you do in the morning, that you go as a collective online and begin to psych yourself to be able to face the day, to say there is nothing that is not possible. We need therapy as a people in this nation. We need transformation sessions. I'm a leadership coach, and when things are like this, you begin to work on the people to transform their minds because their minds are messed up. If you look at all the things that you've written here, Bright, we're a messed up nation. So how do we retrace our steps? How do we work on the psyche of the people? It's for us to begin to organize transformational sessions. If you're the head of a conglomerate or you're the head of a corporation or you're the head of an agency, you need to find a way to transform the minds of the people with you because truthfully, we are desperately in need of hope in this nation.
It's hard out here. And like you said, leadership is something that, like you said, leadership is something that it's a position where you have to bring hope to the people. I remember when I was organizing the Builder show, a show that I produced, and I had over 150 people on set, like literally 72 hours, nobody slept. I'm not paying them. They're all young people, but I sat down, I told them exactly what the vision is and what it will do. And everybody plugged in and they're like, whatever it is, whatever it takes, we'll be here and we'll get it done. So I understand the value of somebody coming up and saying, see, this is the vision, this is the plan. Yes, there might be vision and plan, but they're not communicating that in a way where we're like, you know what, let's go through the fight, let's go through the hard time because there's light at the end of the goddamn tunnel. Do you get what I mean? Like that's not there. But yeah, I want to reiterate this, that although hope may be compromised, it is not lost. Hope can be restored if we confront these challenges with urgency and purpose.
And I second that, Bright. Here is some inspiration to motivate us as we endeavor to turn over a new leaf. The rise of Kemi and the fall of Kamala. Kemi and Kamala, both women of color, both engaged in an assertive, aggressive demand for political power. Through them, the world witnessed the coming of age of women of color in the quest for the highest political offices in two powerful countries of the world, the United Kingdom and the United States of America. Through both of them, we measure the impact of race in the arena of politics. The world will remember November 2024 for a long time. Kemi Badenoch, a Black immigrant, won the race for the leadership of the Conservative Party, the first in the history of the UK. Kamala Harris, the first Black woman of South Asian descent to contest to be the President of the United States. She was a powerful symbol of inclusivity, but America, for the second time, the first being Hillary Clinton, was not ready for a female president. As the Dean Faculty of Law, Caleb University, Professor Funke Treasure puts it, the rise of Kemi is situational. She was at the right place at the right time to make history. Apart from putting in the hard work and being laser-focused, she was blind to the limitations that race can place on you. Kamala's downfall was basically about the agenda she pushed. She was portrayed as too liberal, thus becoming a victim of her beliefs. Race was an issue in the two different cultural settings. Kemi surmounted it in a conservative white party. Kamala didn't in liberal America. The United Nations said it would take 140 years for women to be represented equally in positions of power and leadership in the workplace. It would take 47 years to achieve equal representation in national parliaments. Kamala's concession speech was a demonstration of statesmanship. Hear her. A fundamental principle of America's democracy is that when we lose an election, we accept the result. That principle, as much as any other, distinguishes democracy from monarchy or tyranny. The one who seeks public trust must honor it. End of quote. Indelible. Absolutely. And so as I conclude, I salute the audacity of Shirley Chisholm, who ran for president in the Democratic primaries 52 years earlier. That's in 1972. We are because you were.
Shirley Chisholm.
Yeah.
I love history.
There you go.
I really do. I really do. And, you know, many people of this age don't know about what she did at that time. You know, because when you think about it, then that when did women have the right to vote in the U.S.? I think that was 1920, right? And that was white women anyway.
Yeah.
Black people didn't really get their rights until the Civil Arts Right, I think, of 1965 or the other. And so when you think about what Shirley Chisholm did at that time,
1972.
in 1972, it was phenomenal. But she opened the door for a lot of things, including for someone like Kemi Badenoch to do what she's able to do today. Now, deliberately, I didn't go to the US, I went to the UK. Because we must not forget that the rights that we have right now were not just bestowed on us because, you know, the givers of the rights just felt, oh, you deserve it. It was fought for.
It was earned.
It was earned. You know, and so it's painful for me when I hear some of the comments said by Kemi. I mean, I know you celebrate her, but you know, it's quite painful for me to listen to, you know, how she tries to, in a way, justify the idea of, you know, anti-reparations or somehow that colonization was cool because at the end of the day we ended up fine or something like that. The fact is the fact that whatever you had today, the right you have to say the things that you said, all right, today, was because there were a lot of people who put their life on the line to fight for the right
For you to be there.
For you to be there.
Literally died.
And now you have privilege. And this is what I tell my kids today.
Privilege.
I tell my kids, I said, look, you are in societies today to be able to do the things they are. I mean, they're out of the country, the school out of the country, and because I can afford it. And I said to them that there are 90% or 99% of kids who will want the same privilege that you have. You're not there because you are better. Those people who don't have, those kids who don't have, those who don't have what you have, it's privilege. They don't have the privilege, all right, to have the dad that you have. And I also enjoyed that from my own parents. So never you think because you have attained to a certain height, to which you will attain in the society that you are, that you're somehow better than the people that you left behind. You must always realize the fact that you are a child of privilege. And that should make you moderate your views or your words or the things that you do. Now, I know that Kemi's position is political. I mean, she has to do what she has to do to earn political office. But at some point, the question I ask is that, what's the price of power?
He practically said a lot of things that I wanted to say, and the Kemi dynamics, yes, that's it. But, well, to Kamala, thank you to Big Sis for putting words on the marble and reminding us of values that should never be lost in a democracy.
Kemi sometimes sounds like she's anti-Black. We all understand that she's pandering to her sponsors. I refuse to believe that those are her sincere thoughts. I can't. I just can't comprehend it, because there are people who know her, there are people that went to school together, and then you're coming back and saying all sorts of things. But then that is not the crux of this advocacy. Americans, as woke as they claim to be, are not ready for a female president.
No, they're not.
They can pay a lot of lip service to it, not to talk of a Black, Asian, American president. They are not ready. And as much as it was shown in the popular vote in Hillary's election, but the gatekeepers, they are not going to let it happen anytime soon. But then, kudos to Kamala for first and for representation. She has shown us that we can try. And we should always try. Regarding Kemi, she was at the right place at the right time, and she played the right game. Maybe the conservatives are not as conservative after all. The value competence.
Or maybe she had a sponsor who was strong.
Of course, we all
being
have
the
come
conservative.
Come on.
But then again, she made 10,000 votes.
I'm confused. I'm confused. I think these guys are conflicting my brain right now.
Okay, what
now,
is it?
There's one part that did not win an election.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh, we're not ready. They're not ready for a female president. Somebody has won. You are saying somebody's supposed to. Are you guys trying to say that women are not just capable of doing something and actually just winning?
I would like to pointedly say that you don't win elections anywhere just based on competence. You need to have sponsors. It does not have to be financial sponsors.
So it applies to both male and female, right?
No, it is not gender specific. Okay. You need to have sponsors.
That's what I
the conservatives probably value competence over race and gender. We are rooting for Kemi. Best of luck to her in her new endeavor.
Dismissed.
So I think for me, I want to kind of like just jump in on what Yinka said about privilege, right? Before I talk about the whole thing, there's a quote I saw on Snapchat that somebody wrote. It's in broken English, so I'm going to speak it in broken English. It says, "Person where God help, you look other people say that they're lazy because they never make them."
Right. Wisdom.
Do you understand? That's because God help you if you say everybody they're lazy, right? So I feel like that the first thing here is shout out to Kamala. She did an amazing job stepping out, having the confidence, and a lot of people out there who believe. And I'm one of those people. It's crazy to me growing up and seeing that there's this ideology that women have to stop here and men have to go here. Like it bogs my head. Because I know that first of all, we're human beings that have brains. It's like when you look at ChatGPT, there's no male ChatGPT and female ChatGPT. It's just ChatGPT.
Right. Yeah.
ChatGPT, right? I feel like Kamala could do a better job. I'm going to say a better job. Could do the same job that any other male president, Donald Trump or Biden, can do. I feel like she actually even played a major role in this government more than the president. That's my personal opinion. So just the ideology, and that has to change. And I feel like it's changing as we move through different generations, because I don't see that. It doesn't make sense to me. The most amazing people in my life, the people that have got me to where I am today, are women. And I'm saying this to all the guys friends I have, is women like literally build me. Like everything, like my mother, my aunties, my godmother, women are the reason why I'm who I am today. So when people say things like, "Oh, women," I'm confused. The smartest girl in my class was a woman. She was a girl. The smartest person in my class growing up, every single stage of my class was a girl. And we have a lot of boys, including me, that wasn't passing like that.
A few years ago, I contested for the president of my alumni association. And then I had women reaching out to me and telling me that, a woman, I should contest for vice president. A woman cannot be president. I was like, you and who?
There's always some good to take away, even from a bad experience. It's called learning. And that's what Kamala did with that concession speech. Brilliant.
To learn, there is the presumption that we must first be teachable. Right, Funke? Over the last 2 months, 3 banks with a market capitalization of over 2.9 trillion naira and half-year 2023 profit before tax of 1.7 trillion have made Nigerian life hell due to service disruptions resulting from the upgrade of their core banking applications. The upgrades, while intended to make things better for customers, actually made things worse. The tales of woe are long, from individuals unable to make payments for basic needs like food and healthcare, to loss of revenues for small and big businesses. Many customers complained of debits that were never delivered nor reversed, or inflows that were never received. One bank even made a show of showing saying they landed the plane, only for customers to wonder whether the plane had crashed. Beyond empty platitudes of "we apologize," nothing has changed. No tangible explanation nor compensation has been offered to customers. You would think that banks declaring such astronomical profits in this economy will spend at least a fraction of it to ensure that systems are upgraded each free, unless maybe the profits are just paper profits. I digress. Many customers have resorted to holding cash, while some companies, including fintechs, are advising customers to use alternative platforms for collections and payments. For a country that claims to be serious about cashless policy and financial inclusion, this is a big step back. Given that many more banks are likely to embark on similar system upgrades, it's time for the CBN to step in. I believe it's well within its powers to establish protocols to govern this system upgrades. Banks must be made to obtain CBN approval before they embark on bank-wide upgrades that impact on their core banking application and channels. This system downtimes and service disruptions must be within a stipulated time frame, not exceeding 48 hours. They should explore migrating in phases and not at once. Where the bank fails to meet the requirements as approved by the CBN should mandate that customers must be compensated as a deterrent to banks. They shouldn't wait until customers start suing banks for compensatory damages. Do the needful now.
Okay, thank you for this advocacy. I would like to share a personal experience. In fact, I have multiple. So when my primary corporate account bank were doing their migration, they told us 2 days. We were happy, like, oh, 48 hours, we'll be fine and happy. And then it took more than 2 weeks, and we had a client that overpaid and wanted a refund. And we're saying, we have not even seen the money.
You're not seeing the money. How can you refund what you have not seen?
We can't even refund you. You know, it was just a series of mails back and forth, like, okay, please help us. That is on the corporate angle. On the personal side, there was a there ordered stuff online. I opted to pay via card. It didn't work. I ordered, okay, so we'll pay on delivery. They came to deliver, and then I couldn't pay. The cards were not working, transfers were not working. I had to start doing Bambiala, please. Can you help me transfer 69,000 to this place? They were like, Zumah, what happened? I don't know, but my bank is currently showing me Shege. The first bank did that. The second one said they were doing migration for the 8 hours, eventually got to know that they even paused it. But we had a downtime for more than 48 hours. And it was so bad that, again, thankful for survival. It is, when you talk about the migration is intended to make life easier for the customers, is it actually intended to make life easier or to protect themselves? Because the way we approach technology in this space, a lot of these apps were working perfectly. My banks, I preferred and this is not technology bias, this is not newness bias, because I try to look at features. It used to take me 5 clicks to make a transaction before. Now I have to use OTP 2 or 3 times now to make a single transaction, increasing the number of clicks to like 9. Are you actually trying to make life easier for me, or are you trying to protect yourself? Again, it is what it is. Since cashless policy was introduced in 2012, we're still very far from the target. And then the bills changing that was done prior to the election, the currency change, made it even worse, because there is a reduced trust in the digital payment platforms. Now, like, you can go there at any time, just carry cash. We have that. You're talking about sanctioning banks for their downtime during migration. Yeah. I disagree with that. Technology can disgrace anybody at any time, because when you understand that they also don't want the platforms to be down for that period, they are also losing money. As the platforms are down, beyond losing money, they are losing social capital. So it's not something they intentionally do. But for someone who operates in the technology space, I understand that it's man proposes, God disposes.
I literally got to Atlanta by 2 a.m. because I missed like 3 flights, right? Because my Zenith Bank card, my Zenith Bank card was not working. I called my account officer. I was like, there's something that we can do, Mr. Brad. We're very, very sorry. We're very, very sorry. I'm like, do you understand the repercussion of these actions? Are you guys going to pay back the money? Because you say, sorry, I'm still messed up. And that's the problem. Nigeria has the worst service system in the world.
Customer service.
What is that? Even airline, they'll move their flight backward. I don't understand how I booked a flight for 2 p.m. You now move it backward to 12 a.m. Are you normal?
2 hours.
But because they are trying to maximize profit, they don't want to invest. That's how I know a lot of tech guys that work in this bank that left to Canada and packed their bag, and then the bank shut down because they're not paying them good salaries.
True.
I mean, it happens. Are we lying? It's the truth.
No, you're not.
People leave because they're not even being paid well. These guys are chucking out profit that is unreasonable. So at the end of the day, I'll still go back to government. I'll always go back to government because nobody dragged you to come and run for these offices. You're in your house, nobody dragged you. You chose to do it. So please do your job. Hold these guys accountable. Put structure in place that make sure that if you do something wrong that affects the citizens, they are held accountable. Get somebody's license away from them. Let them understand. When you see repercussions, you adjust your ways. You will make sure that things are put in place. But at the end of the day, what we get is we apologize.
But a lot of people are used to, once we hear we apologize, there's nothing I can do. In their head, they're like, well, this is Nigeria, nothing can happen.
Nothing can happen.
We need to get away from nothing can happen. Because me, Dorothy Njemanze, I've gotten a lot of, you know that thing about touch not my anointed and do my prophets no harm? It be like saying that for my body, they work. I'm telling you. Because once I cancel appointments for you, I will get what I want to. Once you just scatter everything, I will say, okay, this is what I should have gotten. And you're still going to give it to me. But for now, let's bring some sanity into the system. We need more people thinking this way. We need more people not just saying, it upsets me. It's like, it upsets me and this is what I want. I want you to fix this. I want you to fix this.
You know what it feels like when you've bought stuff in the mall and you want to pay and you have the card of that bank you're talking about. and they're like, everybody is looking at you like, and this should not get the money. You know, and then they say, please step aside. There are people waiting. and then they hurriedly help you pack your stuff and put it somewhere. It is embarrassing. You would think that banks declaring such astronomical profits in this economy would at least spend a fraction of it to ensure that systems are upgraded, hitch-free, unless maybe the profits are just paper profits.
There's the why not?
Paper profits. And I think the CBN should wake up. CBN, this is for you, because a lot is happening. I have done like 2 advocacies about the banking system. I did the one on ATM. How many months after we're just seeing in the news that the banks are now being asked to please put money in their ATMs.
I went out on a date and so I went out on a date and I asked the waiter to bring the bill and the girl was like, see, typical man thing. I'm like, do you want to pay? She's like, no, I mean, it's a typical man thing. So I gave the guy my card and I said, God, please. And then she said, so you're betting God for after you have money. I'm like, no, you don't understand. It's not because I don't have money. Because let the card work.
So you see, what about the corporate social responsibility part of this? Because as Yinka said, you're declaring such astronomical profits. Sometimes I wonder, wow, this bank too, wow. So what are you doing with all of those profits? Just keeping them. What about your corporate social responsibility? And I'm not talking about fixing a street and doing Christmas, what's that they call them? Christmas lights, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about which of you banks with these big profits have reached out to the people in these despondent times to say, this is what we're giving to the people. You know, like Father Christmas. What are you doing to the people?
Like Father Christmas.
You know?
All right.
So don't quote me.
So we each have a responsibility to play our parts and to hold those in positions of responsibility accountable. No one gets to sit idly by on the sidelines. Join us again, same time, next week, and be a part of the conversations that matter. at the table. So then, it's goodbye from all of us.
Adios.
Goodbye.
Nana de Shemos.
Bye.
Peace. Love.